Hi, everyone. This is Caroline again with you with the Expat interviews, Thriving Abroad, where we get an opportunity to go all over the world and see the most amazing people in the most amazing places. And quite frankly, it's been a joy all of this time to meet these people all over the world who have left their homeland and gone off to faraway places to create a life and not just live, but thrive. And I'm so excited to have the opportunity to speak to a handsome young man who's going to share his journey to a really faraway land that we do not hear about a lot on the expat journey. And you're going to love his story. Thank you so much, Diesel, for joining me today. Welcome.
Look, I don't know about the amazing title. You're gonna put me up there.
You are amazing. You are. So we are today. We're in Finland, and we are just going to hear the story of how you made it across the river over to this Nordic country, just kind of tucked under there, like you're just kind of tucked under. So share with us a little bit about your story. You're originally from the US.
Yes, yes, of course. Yeah, I'm originally from America. Yes, ma'am. I'm originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and after going to college, I went to Texas, worked in Texas for a while, and then I moved to California. The reason that I wanted to mention those is because I've always liked to adventure. And it's actually a really funny but quick story is that when I used to play in sports at one point back in high school, there was this one school that we used to go against called William Tennant. And there was this really high hill that they had. And every year, all 4 years, every year when we would go there multiple times a year, I used to go up there and I used to sit up there on that hill. And sometimes I would try to bring up friends. I remember, and every time I would try to bring up some friends with me or something, they'd be like, "Man, what we going up this hill for?" and all of this, you know. And I was like, "Man, just come." And it was because when I got up there to that top, I just used to sit there and you could see everything from this hill, you know. It was like this historical site. Whatever was up there was like an old hospital or something like that. And I would tell them, and even when I was by myself, I said, man, there's something out there. There's something more than just this. And I had always had that feeling. So I think for many of us, for me personally, I'm not sure of everybody's life. I think, not getting into deep of it, but I know that growing up, I had some trauma for sure. And I think that in having these different traumas, it causes you to either collapse like some of us do, and I've definitely been there, but also you start to say, man, there's got to be something else. This isn't it. This isn't just what I'm seeing, what I'm experiencing. Because I used to always have in my mind, somebody's going through it worse. Somebody, well, who is that somebody? Where is that somebody? Where are they at? You know. So going back, when I would show them that, I remember most of them would be like, "Oh, okay, there's hills and there's mountains. What?" You know. And I was just like, man, why don't they see it? Why don't they see what I'm seeing? And long and behold, like I said, going back to my traveling, that's why the traveling happened, man. And I'll be honest, I moved to some of them locations homeless because I didn't care. It was literally a mindset that I was like, this is where I want to be. And I have my job. And at one point, the last place moving to California, I transferred. That was different. But I transferred with no home. You know, I was like, I got a job, I'm transferring. I got work, but I don't got a place. But I want to be there, you know? So coming back to this adventure was a little different, and I want you to get back to your questioning before I get into that. But I think just the feeling of wanting to adventure, wanting to see and explore is definitely what got me from point A to point B.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you said that it was something inside of you. And I think that after talking to so many different people, we all, including myself, we agree that it is something like one day you wake up and you're like, wow, there's just something else out there. But even for those that don't wake up one day and feel that, but they do have like a little nudge, you know, I love for us to have this conversation so people can understand that, you know, you know, sometimes you just have to just go with your intuition, you know, if you're feeling the call to explore and go somewhere. So many people, you know, like I've heard people say, oh my God, do I need a passport, you know, to travel and things like that. And, you know, it's sad because I'm sure there's many people that would love to experience another country, but they, you know, we that are travelers, we think it's, oh yeah, you know, but there are many people that don't even know where to begin. So this is really important that we're having this conversation. So tell us a little bit more about the transition. So you're, you know, now you're a seasoned traveler. Before you made it to Finland, how did you get there?
Yeah, so I was saying like this because I think that's a great thing that you just spoke about. Obviously, the times have changed since I've been gone, you know, so I could see that based off of news and events. But definitely, it's one of those funny stories. Apparently, it's a stereotypical thing here in Finland. But the move was for love. You know, that's what they always say. It's like, oh, what got you over here? And it's funny because one, I want to make a statement on what you just said about the passport. That is a really sad thing because I don't know what your experience is getting to Mexico, but I know for sure, like over here in Europe at least, man, everybody has a passport. It's like the second nature thing to do. So it is kind of funny that most Americans, that's not even like a thing that we really do. On top of the fact that I had to realize something was so unique and beautiful about once I moved somewhere, that places in the world are not just vacational spots, they're homes. And I had to tell people that, you know, if you say to me, man, yeah, I went to Sicily for 2 weeks, or I did this or that, you haven't lived there. You know what I mean? You haven't lived there. You've only experienced a very small taste, because the first 4 or 5 months, 6 months, 7 months of me being here compared to 3 4 years is so different. You know, so you can't just visit somewhere and say I've been. So that's one thing that I would definitely want to open the eyes for other Americans like ourselves, for people to say, hey, listen, man, just thinking of other places like a vacation is incorrect, because just like you live in America, this is your home, this is your history, this is your where you've been. That's as deep as it is. It's deep rooted in these places, you know. So going back, it was in 2018. Once again, taking a leap, and I have no problem being honest, as I'm honest with my partner. I was living in California, and I was California fornicating. You know what I mean? I was doing all types of stuff, and while out there, you know, it got to a point, because I do know myself. You know, I'm not sitting here trying to make myself an angel, but I could say that I already knew prior to even those experiences, man, I want somebody. You know, I don't want this dibble dabble, you know, I don't want that, because everybody is a person that deserves to be treated as such. And I had actually had this guy that I was pretty cool with. He said, hey man, you ever tried these apps and da da da? And I was like, no, I don't want to try app. I was like, that's going to exactly put me what I'm doing right now. I don't even need an app. Why would I go get an app to do? And he was just like, no, man, like I'm telling you, like you can meet people. Da, da, da. I shunned him off. Almost 7 months later, right? I got to that point where I was like, you know what? I mean, it ain't gonna hurt. You know what I mean? What's it gonna do? I go on the app, and I'm not even joking. She was like the second person. Like when I mean by second person, the first person that messaged me, it was not at all, let me talk to you. It was a hookup situation they were trying to have. I wasn't interested. And she immediately, like, I saw her profile. I said, you know what, let me message. And from there, it literally took off. We went from there, I downloaded WhatsApp. I didn't even know what that was at the time, you know, started speaking. So long and behold, skipping forward, that process of going was this, 2018. Is when we started speaking. She came and visited me in 2019. She came to California to visit me. It was an amazing experience, because not for all people, meeting her in person was actually better than even speaking to her on the app. For a lot of people, it's completely reversed. So that was amazing. But when I saw her, I was with her, I said, there it is. I know who it is. That's it, right there. And she left. I'm not even joking. The same day that she left to go back, I left back to PA the same exact day. I said, I'm going to visit my family for a little bit, because I know I'm going. I went there. She was back in Finland within 2.5 months, and suffering, learning the expediting process and all of that. I had to go through all of that by myself. Like you said, people are like, oh, well, what if you don't notice that there's a lot of things you don't know in life? If you're really interested in finding out, you go through, you go and you learn. All the people spend 20, 30 minutes on YouTube watching something that's BS, but won't spend 2 seconds watching something to actually educate themselves. So I did all of that. And within the 2 months, I was able to get myself over to Finland. So that was that process right there.
So that is really a nice story. So it wasn't like you went on the map and you said, okay, I'm going to go here. Love took you across the water. That's cool.
I don't mean to interrupt, but can I tell you this one thing?
Sure.
Craziest thing that could definitely be documented by the gentlemen that were around me. I said to them, it was 2018. I told them, which was crazy. In 2018, I told them, I said, man, my goal is I want to live in Spain by 2019. And the reason that kind of came to me, I always wanted to, like I said, we both speak Spanish, So I always wanted to go to Spain and live there. And I actually had a friend that was living in California, that his wife and him actually lived in Spain for several years. And I was like, oh man, I want to go. I meet her at the end of that year. I talked to her. I'm overseas in 2019, like I said. And where do we move? We moved to Spain. And it was crazy because to me, it wasn't like, because I definitely want people to get that conception. And obviously we have way more protection as Americans. Most of the time, stereotypically, when a European goes with an American, it's the stereotype, oh, they want to get to the country. Not for me, you know what I mean? It wasn't the case for me. But it was ironic. And I sat there and I told her, I said, I can't believe that we didn't move to Spain and I said that I was going to do this then, So even now, like I said, it's just a crazy scenario. Like you said, that mind power, getting yourself to where you want to be.
Wow. And, it's kind of like sometimes you wind up in places that you never thought that you would be in, because I had never thought I'd ever live in Mexico. Mexico was never on my list of places ever growing up, never. I just, and here I am almost 4 years later living here. So you just never know what life is gonna throw at you. So now you're in Finland and you have a partner, and if you could just tell us a little bit, like, what was it like? Because I'm gonna assume that this was like a totally different, like the Nordic culture was a little bit foreign to you, right? As far as, adapting to the language, the culture, the food. How was that transition for you?
Just because I want to make this easier for others watching, it was like you're living in America, right? Every state, every state we're separated, but we all live on the same continent. And we do have similar laws and main laws that we live by, but we do have some different laws. It was kind of, if you've ever traveled around the US and you're hit by culture shocks all the time, things you're not used to at all. For instance, I lived in Philly, majority of my life. When I moved to Texas and I literally was in line, not even kidding. I was in line getting food, and a gentleman, I don't know why we started a small conversation, but at the same time we started that conversation, I just met this gentleman. He said, oh, you new to Texas, man? Come on over. I got a barbecue with my family. And I was like, what? Like, I don't even know you, and you invited. And I thought that was fantastic, stereotypical Southern hospitality. So coming back to Finland, it was that, man. It was literally moving and seeing the way, I'll give you some examples just to throw you off. Kids walk to and fro to school. Kids can walk to and fro to school. They could start 5, 6 years old, walking to and fro in school. The level of violence and crime is extremely low. They're like, I think 4 years in a row or 5 years in a row, they won safest place in the world, like some crazy stuff like that. All these things I actually wasn't even aware of, right? I was able to come here into this country. I was able to get, because right now I'm on my second one. You only need 3. You get your residence permit. Your first residence permit, I believe, is for a year or 2. Once you get the second one, it's for 4 years. Once I finalize my 4 years, I have complete residency for the rest of my life. But even with just a residence permit, The first time I got it, remember this, the first time I got this, the residence permit, I'm able to do everything legally that someone that was Finnish born can do. Every right that they have. That's insane to me. You know what I mean? That was amazing. The quality of life, the quality of food. I could go to McDonald's and feel healthier than the McDonald's in the States. There's so many strange things that you can tell immediately, you know? So right now, like for instance, there's two different parts of Finland. There's North Karelia and South Karelia. And I used to live in North, now I live in the South. And even just moving between there, people were very nice, people were very kind. Two different people. And it's just like, it's insane because that's just one country, you know? And I've also had the opportunity to teach others that are here in Finland, hey, America's not all the same place. We live in the same country. Yes, we're on the same continent, but we are not all the same. So when they make a comment and they say, oh yeah, well, Americans, well, who is Americans? Like American is the melting pot. Every culture is there. So if you're Chinese American, you have a whole different upbringing than me. If you Black American, you got a whole different upbringing. So we might be with around, excuse me, or familiar with some of the similar social cues, but they're still insanely different, you know? So the diversity is as diverse as it is in America is super diverse over here, even in one country with the higher percentage being Finnish people. Oh, I can't hear you. You're on mute.
I
You're
sure
on
am
mute.
on mute. Hello. How do I speak if
That was a
I'm
good
on mute?
question.
Thank you. That was a good question. As a whole, what would you say the Finnish people are like as far as accepting of foreigners? Are they pretty much, I know that many of the Nordic countries are very culturally aware and very diverse in their way of thinking, but would you say also including the Finnish people as just being very accepting of foreigners, not just Black, but I mean just foreigners in general?
You know what? This is a strange thing because I want to say, once again, I'm going to say it just like this. Based off my experience, yes. But I'm not one of those people that ever neglects other people's experiences. So if there can be many others that say completely different. So it's not in my right to even stand for those people because I'm aware everywhere we go, there's injustices 1%. Based off of my experience, I've had a good one. And part of that is kind of why I was a little taken back upon moving. And I wanted to make sure that people saw me as an individual, not just as an American. I'm proud of that title to have, but the reason that I'm saying that is because I'm not that kind of person. I don't care to be treated better, possibly, because I have American attached to my name. But there might be other people that look like me that you don't treat the same way just because they don't attach. So I will never agree with that. So in that sense, that's what I mean is that I'm thankful. Like being like anybody that's American needs to know that it's not perfect, but I'm saying that a lot of places you're going to go, you might need to consider the fact that you have a little bit of a step up, you know, compared to other cultures. You know, when you enter there, you Muslim in a country, or of Arabic descent, let's say it like that, Muslims of religion, Arabic descent, you're, Italian in some places, you're, what is this, Romanian, I'm saying Romanian, I'm so sorry. What are they called again? Gypsy, you know, these kind of things. Sometimes these people look like Black people are a lot of times in the States, right? So you could walk to another country and be put on a pedestal, you know, so that's one thing to consider is you have to consider that, hey, this is a different place in society that what you usually would consider in your own, these people are. So these are people that you need to also uplift and bring up too, because they're dealing exactly what maybe your ancestors dealt with. So to answer your question in a frank way, the city that I lived in, Joensuu, when I first moved here, was actually one of the most racist cities in Finland, not even 20 years ago. The reason that I believe that it does not hold as it did in America is because there's no slavery involved. There's not years of constant aggression. And I'm not making an excuse, but I 100% believe this. Before the 20 years ago was because there was a lot of immigration due to refugees. In any country, I don't care what people say. People can, well, no, Black people wouldn't. I don't believe that. Because if you live in a country where all you've seen is white faces all your life or black faces all your life, whatever the case may be, if somebody comes into your country, right, your country accepts people, and perhaps you didn't have a say so, there's going to be people that say, hey man, welcome to my country. There's going to be people that say like, I could, I could do without that, but all right. And there's going to be people, what you doing in my country? That's even in Africa, and I've seen it. So you know what I mean? I'm not here to pretend that that's not a reality. So I definitely, like I said, I am thankful, and I've actually many people that I've come in contact with in the city that I was living at that were older than me, that were of minority culture. I thank them. I said, thank you for setting a road for me that I'm able to come here and people are very nice to me. And they perhaps were not the same to you. So I always show that appreciation and respect for sure, 100%.
Yeah, that is a part two for you and I to talk about in the future, and I feel very strongly about, I guess I should say from an American standpoint, how we represent ourselves. And, many of us have this thing like, well, I'm American, everybody should accept Americans. And, whether I'm black, white, I'm American. And we have the passport and we can go wherever we want and we can do whatever we want. And, we really do have to do a little bit of, adjustment, in our cultural, more, the way we think about other countries that, we can't just show up and say, but I'm American, I don't have to adapt to you, you have to adapt to me. And I feel like even on a subconscious level, maybe not consciously, we do go places like, like you even mentioned, like in Africa. I mean, everybody thinks, well, I'm black. When I go to Africa, everybody's just going to welcome me with open arms, but you're not African, you're not from any of those countries. So each country in Africa has a different culture, and it doesn't matter what color you are, you're different. So that is something that we will have to talk about, because it's really important. And I feel like a lot of people don't get that portion of it. One thing that I wanted to ask you to share really quickly, what would you say to someone who was considering moving abroad? Obviously your situation is one where, it was kind of like unintentional, to move to Finland. But, if there's someone out here that is feeling, well, I want to move somewhere, but I don't know, I'm scared. I don't have the courage to just pack up and just move somewhere. What would you say to someone that felt that way?
Yes, I think, because you are right. I am in a different stepping stone because I did move here based off of the situation. That is true. But I'm thankful that I had my experiences prior as well, because, homelessness wasn't fun, and when I say homeless, I never want people, because it doesn't matter. There's no moral high ground for me, but I don't want them to think I'm homeless like Cup out here. But it was the concept that I went and got a job, but I wasn't living anywhere. It was bench to ground. It didn't matter. But once again, that's because I wanted to get to where I was trying to get to. So I've gone from street to bed to nice, like home. And at the end of the day, once again, I'm trying to say this, I am no better than anybody else. It was just the mindset. That's really it. And I know a lot of people, it's hard for them to understand that. But at the end of the day, just like air, right? If right now somebody submerged your head in water, you would do everything to get out of that water to live, if you cared to, right? But your body would be telling you that's the case. Well, in some of us, right, and maybe in some others, that desire to go and explore, it feels that way. You feel trapped, right? That you can't go and see. So for me, I think that it's very important, if you can, if you're in that situation, to educate yourself a lot about the place you're going to. See how the place is. Like you're doing right now. This is fantastic. Other people have the same capability. Get in contact with other people. Ask them, because they'll probably want to speak on it. So you can get a better feel. But also, you do have to have that ear of kind of discern, because people can just sit there and just be like, oh, I hate this country and this and that. And then I'm seeing all emotion. I'm not seeing country. You're just telling me you talked to 4 or 5 people. This was your experience. So like, for instance, we have Russia. I'm literally right next to Russia. I'm high five. I'm right there, right? I know a lot of Russians. I know a lot. I actually grew up because I don't know what it was about this, but there was a time period where a lot of people from Ukraine and Russia started moving in like literally Philadelphia. They were just like right there. You know, it was a huge community there. And for me, I'm very in understanding that, hey man, Putin is a person. Putin is a guy in power. There are people in power there. Citizens are not sitting there in power. Of course, there's patriots of Russia. That's like anywhere. There's patriots in America right now that still 100% agree with Afghanistan. You know what I mean? They 100% agree with the wars that have happened. That's each its own. But there are a huge amount of Russians over there that do not agree. But just like an American, if you go out of America, if I'm in Finland right now and I start speaking badly about America, I will be shunned, right? I'll be talked down upon. What do you think Russians are going to experience if they do the same thing, right? So at the end of the day, traveling back, I apologize for venting over, but traveling back, I believe having the mindset to say, I want to know about the location I'm going to. I want to get in contact with people that are there. Because at the end of the day, this might seem like a lot. To be honest, if it's a lot, perhaps it's not meant for you. Because at the end of the day, like anything you do, like right now, I have a business. It's a lot, but it's something I want to do. Therefore, I do it. I do everything it takes to do it. So it's the same thing if you want to move. If you really say, man, I got this itch in my head that I want to go here, even if it's vacation, if that's your goal, well, what are we doing to get there? You know, so I think that is something sadly in this generation we're seeing now. 15 cent, like I literally, because I got to do all this social media stuff, people are held maybe 15, 20 minutes of retention to a phone, right? Most people can't even pay attention longer than 20 seconds, right? So that's letting me know, like I said earlier, you're willing to say, I can't watch a 2-3 minute video that's talking about how I go get my passport. Tells me, how do I get into this country? I can't do it. It's too much. But you'll literally sit there and watch a half an hour or hour worth of a movie and or something on Netflix, a TV show series, and several episodes. So to me, it's kind of like, well, in a case, right? Because you like that. It was, why not do the work so that you can be in Bali or so you can be in Barcelona, still watching that TV series. But now you're there and you're doing both. So it's not that you have to give up everything, but you have to sometimes sacrifice that time to, you know, get where you're trying to get. I hope I didn't extend that too long.
No, I love that. I love that. I love it. And I am going to tell folks that you are a YouTuber, you have a wonderful channel, and I want people to go to your channel and hear what you have to say about your life abroad, because I feel like it's very important. And you know, so people can see, you know, there's so many misconceptions, and I know there are a lot of YouTubers that get on YouTube, and I'm putting this out there. A lot of YouTubers get on and they paint this perfect picture. They paint this, you know, this, I don't know, this utopia or whatever. And, you know, and people are so enamored by that, and they get out here and then when they get to this country, they're like, oh my God, you know, or that YouTuber just packs up and they're gone. You know, it's like the thief in the middle of the night, they're gone and they're on to the next adventure. So I really, I do promote and encourage people to listen to people that are actually living the life. You know, they didn't just go there to sit there for 6 months, do a YouTube channel, and then move on to the next location. They're actually living. And that's what this is about. It's about living and thriving and, you know, just having a life somewhere else. So we're going to put your, what is your YouTube channel called, by the way?
Daddi Diesel. So Daddi and then Diesel, Diesel.
Okay, we're going to put the link for that below. And you are a daddy to a beautiful son. What is how old is he?
Yeah, 2-year-old. He's going to be 2.
He's 2. He's 2. So yeah. He's going to be
he's turning 2. I want to say he's turning 2.
He's turning 2. So what language will he learn first? English or Finnish?
Both.
Okay.
Both. We definitely speak both in the house. And it's funny because even now, like, you know, I'm not going to get too much into it, but he definitely utilizes both words and he understands, you know, when his mother speaks to him and then when I speak. It was difficult because obviously, you know, I was like, oh, learning Finnish, I would like to speak, but I think that it's sometimes better not to confuse him because I don't want him to end up growing up in Finland sounding like an immigrant. You know what I mean? Like he's natively here, so I don't want him to sound like me, you know? But yeah, I think that too, that is something, if it's okay, I just speak on that very briefly.
Absolutely, sure.
Like you said, it's very unpredictable. And obviously I had no intention nor knowledge that we were going to have our child and things like that. I mean, one thing adds up to another, you know, but at the end of the day, that wasn't the immediate intent. It was a fantastic gift to be given. But at the same time, I think that that is something that also perhaps can be talked about in the future, because the level of stress, I will be honest with you, that came with that was overwhelming. Obviously not succumbing or giving up, it was very overwhelming, because if you already, the experience of moving to a country itself, different language, all of these different things. And even when people tell you, well, they speak English there, but it's not my English. And it's not to be any way rude, nowhere near rude. It's not that. It's the concept of small things like sometimes innuendos, things that need to be understood, even if you're doing humorous stuff or even serious things. There's sometimes where you hit those walls when it comes to business or things like that, that you're not able to get. Like, for instance, I have a Finnish, fantastic, by the way, a Finnish accountant. And as helpful as she is, there are times when she cannot explain something to me, even though she speaks English very well. And now I'm sitting there, because once again, it's not always can't explain just because of the language. It's the fact that it's almost ingrained in her, right? There's a lot of things that are ingrained in us that, I don't know, you pay taxes because you got to do this. You know what I mean? It's like there's no specific long. So what I mean is, there's some times where you just sign and paper. I would never do that in the States. I had a huge thing about reading everything that I had to write. I get bills, I get taxes, I get all of these things completely in Finnish. You know what I mean? It's horrendous. But you know,
But I guess it's good to just immerse yourself, because I mean,
Ooh.
that's, you know, if you're just seeing this every day, all day, pretty soon you're gonna have to figure it out, right?
This is true. Did you know that this is the term that they say? Did you know Finnish is actually one of the hardest languages to learn? Not the hardest in the world, but it's actually one of the hardest.
I believe it. I believe it.
It's not connected to any of the other
Right.
Nordic languages.
That's right. It's like totally separate language, so you can't even
pull
from anywhere. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm sorry. It's completely different, because in the concept of, I'm just giving you an example. We have jump, jumping, jumps, jumped, right? We're still dealing with the same 4 letters, just with a different ending. I'm not even, I'm making noises. This isn't actually the language. But you can be like, how do you say jump in Finnish? Past, present, noun, future, whatever. They'd be like, upda, donkada, simasama, hilalalala. And you're just like, what? And it's just like the words will be completely completely different. And it's like, you just have to remember all of that.
Right. They don't even sound the same. Yeah. Yeah.
Then they'll be like, and it's also depending on the situation. You know what I mean? If it's cold out and you say it like this, people might think you mean this. But if you say it like, I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is something, you know? And a lot of it, like I said, it's the laziness, which I agree with you, and I think all Americans should do, is submerge. Because I think there is that small piece of me that still has the American arrogance, probably, of just like, well, I mean, you know, I can lean towards English. They you know, you
Yep.
still have that. A lot of people, and I think that that's why other cultures learn languages so quickly, because it's not an option. You know what I mean? If I have to go to America and I don't speak English, that's my only option now.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's kind of the issue about sometimes, not all Americans, but myself. I definitely would put myself in that category.
Well, Daddi Diesel, it has been a pleasure. This is only part 1. We're going to come back and do a part 2 in the future, because there's so many more things that I wanted to ask you and for you to share that I feel are super important. But we got a little taste of your life over there in beautiful Finland, your family, and I wish you all the best. I know that you have literally built your life there now, and you're going to be a shining example of you know what it's like. You, of course, and many others that have moved abroad and just really made it a life. And we can do it, and you can do it. It just has to be done the right way. And
Yeah.
like you said, a lot of research goes into it, and most people, yeah, they don't want to be bothered. They just want to watch YouTube, and you know, a YouTuber tell them what to do, and then they're okay, great. You know, so and so told me I only have to do this, so that's what I'm going to do. But I appreciate you so much, and we will put down the link for your channel. And are you a grammar also? Are you on Instagram?
Yeah, yes, ma'am, I do. I can send that to you so it makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, we're going to
So,
post
you
the
know,
link for that too. We're going to post the
yeah,
link for Instagram, and we look forward to following your adventures in Finland, and we look forward to hearing more from you. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your life there and letting us go all the way over to the Baltic Sea and share with you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
no problem. Thank you so much again for your time as well.